Arnold Palmer, the king of golf himself, sat in Johnny Carson's guest chair and laughed. "Johnny, you're a decent golfer. I've seen you play. But there's one thing you'll never do: hit a hole-in-one. Do you know the odds? 12,000 to 1 for an amateur. You could play every day for the rest of your life and never make that shot." Johnny smiled. "Want to bet, Arnold?" "Sure, I'll bet you. $10,000 says you never hit a hole-in-one in your lifetime." "Make it interesting," Johnny said. "Give me 1 year. If I hit a hole-in-one within 1 year, you donate $100,000 to my children's charity. If I don't, I donate $50,000 to yours." Palmer extended his hand. "Deal. But Johnny, I'm taking your money. That shot is impossible." What Arnold Palmer didn't know was that Johnny Carson was about to become obsessed. And when Johnny Carson got obsessed with something, physics, probability, and impossible odds didn't matter. 1 year later on live television, Johnny would make a shot that golf experts still call impossible. It was April 15th, 1982, at NBC Studio One in Burbank, California. Arnold Palmer was promoting his latest golf instruction book, and the conversation had naturally turned to golf. Johnny was a decent amateur player. He played regularly at Bel Air Country Club, had a respectable handicap, enjoyed the game, but he wasn't a professional. He wasn't even close to professional level. "The hole-in-one is golf's perfect shot," Palmer explained to the audience. "Everything has to align: the swing, the wind, the lie of the green, the ball compression. It's why professional golfers, guys who play every single day of their lives, might only hit 3 or 4 in their entire careers. Some never hit one at all." "What about amateurs?" Johnny asked. "For an amateur? 12,000 to 1. And that's if you're playing regularly, competently, on courses with reasonable par 3 holes. For most weekend golfers, it's more like 20,000 to 1. It's the rarest shot in golf." "But it's possible," Johnny said. "Technically possible, yes. Realistically? Johnny, you're never going to hit a hole-in-one. I'm sorry, but it's just statistics." Something in Johnny's expression changed. Ed McMahon, who'd worked with Johnny for 20 years, recognized that look. It was the same look Johnny got before he mastered a magic trick that other magicians said was impossible. It was the look of a man who'd just been told he couldn't do something. "Arnold, you just made this interesting," Johnny said. "Let's make a bet." The audience started paying closer attention. Johnny Carson making bets with guests had become legendary. The Dean Martin intervention, the Bette Midler drag performance. When Johnny bet on something, he delivered. "What kind of bet?" Palmer asked, intrigued. "You give me 1 year, exactly 1 year from today, April 15th, 1983. If I hit a hole-in-one before that date, you donate $100,000 to the Children's Charity Foundation. If I don't make the shot, I'll donate $50,000 to the Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital." Palmer laughed. "Johnny, you're giving me free money for my hospital. But sure, I'll take that bet. 1 year, hole-in-one, certified by a professional scorekeeper." They shook hands on national television. The audience applauded, thinking this was entertaining TV. Nobody actually believed Johnny would do it, not even Ed McMahon, not even Johnny's wife Alexis sitting in the audience. But they didn't know Johnny. When he made a public promise, when he shook hands on television in front of witnesses, failure wasn't an option. The next morning, Johnny made 3 phone calls. The first was to Greg Norman, one of the best golfers in the world. "Greg, I need a favor. I need you to teach me how to hit a hole-in-one." "Johnny, I can't teach you that. Nobody can teach that. It's luck, timing, and about 10,000 hours of practice." "Then I need 10,000 hours of practice. Can you get me started?" Norman was silent for a moment. "You're serious about this?" "Completely serious." "Okay. Meet me at Riviera Country Club tomorrow at 6 a.m. Bring comfortable shoes. We're going to work." The second call was to a sports psychologist who worked with Olympic athletes. "I need to learn how to handle pressure, specifically the pressure of making an impossible shot in front of millions of people." The third call was to a physics professor at UCLA who specialized in ballistics. "I need to understand the exact physics of a golf ball traveling 165 yards into a hole that's 4.25 inches wide." For the next 12 months, Johnny Carson became obsessed with a single goal: hit a hole-in-one. He woke up at 5 a.m. every morning and drove to Riviera Country Club. Greg Norman met him there 3 times a week for the first 2 months, teaching Johnny the mechanics of the perfect swing. The par 3 is usually between 150 and 180 yards, Norman explained. You need a 7-iron or 6-iron depending on wind conditions. The ball has to land softly enough that it doesn't bounce out, but with enough spin to track toward the hole. It's not just power, Johnny, it's precision. Johnny hit 500 balls a day, every single day. His hands blistered, his back ached. His wife joked that he'd moved into the golf course, but Johnny kept hitting balls. After 2 months, Norman brought in other professional golfers to watch Johnny's progress. He's actually getting good, Norman told Jack Nicklaus. His swing is technically sound, he's consistent, but hitting a hole-in-one isn't about consistency. It's about that one perfect moment where everything aligns. You really think he can do it? Nicklaus asked. I think if anyone can turn an impossible shot into a probable shot through sheer obsession, it's Johnny Carson. 6 months into the bet, Johnny had hit over 90,000 practice shots. He'd worn out 3 sets of clubs. He could consistently land the ball within 10 feet of the hole from 165 yards. That was professional-level accuracy. But 10 feet wasn't good enough. The hole was 4.25 inches wide. He needed perfection. The sports psychologist worked with Johnny on visualization. See the ball going in, not near the hole, not close to the hole, in the hole. Every single shot, visualize success. The physics professor showed Johnny computer models. If you account for wind resistance, ball rotation, green slope, and initial trajectory, there's a mathematical sweet spot. Hit the ball at exactly this angle, with exactly this much force, and physics will do the rest. But golf wasn't a laboratory. It was played outside, with wind, with pressure, with 1,000 variables that couldn't be controlled. By month 10, Johnny still hadn't hit a hole-in-one. Not in practice, not in his dreams. He'd hit the flagstick twice. Both times, the ball had bounced away. He'd landed 6 inches from the hole dozens of times, but never in. Arnold Palmer called him in March 1983. Johnny, we've got 2 weeks left. How's it going? I haven't made the shot yet, Johnny admitted. Johnny, listen. This bet was supposed to be fun. You've clearly worked incredibly hard. Why don't we call it off? You can still make your donation to my hospital. Nobody needs to lose face here. Are you backing out of the bet, Arnold? I'm giving you an out. I don't need an out. I'm going to make the shot. Johnny, the odds haven't changed. Even with all your practice, it's still basically impossible. Then watch me do the impossible. Johnny hung up and made one more call to Fred de Cordova, his producer. Fred, for my final attempt, I want to do it on The Tonight Show. Build me a par 3 hole on the NBC studio lot. Get it certified by the USGA. Invite Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and every golf professional who wants to watch. Make it a television event. Johnny, what if you miss? In front of everyone. Then I miss, but I'm not going to miss. The NBC studio lot was transformed. Professional golf course architects built a regulation par 3 hole, 165 yards from tee to green. The USGA certified it as meeting all official standards. NBC promoted it for 2 weeks. Johnny Carson's impossible shot, live on The Tonight Show. April 15, 1983 arrived. The studio lot was packed. Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Greg Norman, Lee Trevino, every major name in golf showed up. The Tonight Show audience sat in temporary bleachers. Television cameras were positioned at every angle. 20 million people tuned in to watch. Johnny walked onto the makeshift golf course wearing casual clothes. No suit, no tie, just a man and a golf club. He looked calm, but those who knew him could see the tension in his shoulders. Arnold Palmer approached him. Johnny, no matter what happens, you've already won. You've worked harder at this than any amateur I've ever seen. The dedication alone is remarkable. Thanks, Arnold, but I'm still taking your $100,000 for the charity. Palmer smiled, but it was nervous. He'd been hearing reports about Johnny's practice. The professionals were taking this seriously. What if Johnny actually made the shot? Ed McMahon served as the announcer. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. One shot, 165 yards. Johnny Carson has one attempt to hit a hole-in-one and win $100,000 for children's charity. Johnny stood at the tee box. He looked at the hole in the distance, took 3 practice swings. The silence was absolute. 20 million people were holding their breath. Johnny addressed the ball. Every lesson from Greg Norman ran through his head. Every physics calculation, every visualization exercise. 12 months of obsession came down to this single moment. He swung. The crack of the club hitting the ball echoed across the lot. The ball arced into the sky, a perfect trajectory. It seemed to hang in the air forever, spinning, tracking toward the distant green. "It's on line," Jack Nicklaus whispered. The ball landed 15 feet past the hole. For a moment, everyone thought Johnny had missed. The ball had too much momentum. It was going to roll past. But then the backspin caught. The ball slowed, stopped, and started rolling backward, tracking toward the hole, pulled by physics, by spin, by destiny, by a year of obsessive practice. The ball rolled. 10 feet, 8 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet. "Oh my God," Arnold Palmer said. The ball reached the edge of the hole, hesitated for a fraction of a second, as if teasing everyone, and then dropped in. The sound was simple, a small plastic ball falling into a cup. But the reaction was explosive. The crowd erupted. Professional golfers were running toward the green. Camera operators were screaming. Ed McMahon was crying. Arnold Palmer had both hands on top of his head in disbelief. Johnny Carson stood at the tee box, club still in his hands, watching the chaos. Then he started laughing. Not a polite laugh, a deep, genuine laugh of someone who'd just accomplished something impossible. He walked to the green, where Arnold Palmer met him. "You did it," Palmer said, shaking his head. "You actually did it. Johnny, I've been playing golf for 40 years. I've hit 2 hole-in-ones. You practiced for 1 year and made it happen, on live television, with millions watching. That's the most remarkable thing I've ever seen." They hugged, and Palmer whispered, "Your $100,000 goes to the kids' charity tomorrow. And honestly, Johnny, it's worth every penny. You just proved something important. Impossible is just a word." The sports world exploded. Golf Digest ran the story on their cover, "Carson's Miracle Shot." Sports Illustrated devoted 4 pages to it. The video of Johnny's hole-in-one became one of the most watched sports clips of the 1980s. But the best response came from amateur golfers. Thousands of them wrote letters to Johnny saying his shot had inspired them, that seeing someone dedicate themselves so completely to a goal and achieve it motivated them to pursue their own impossible dreams. Greg Norman said in an interview, "Johnny Carson taught professional golfers something we'd forgotten. You don't need natural talent to achieve the impossible. You need obsession, dedication, and the willingness to fail 10,000 times until you succeed once." The hole-in-one ball was authenticated and eventually donated to the PGA Hall of Fame. The plaque reads, "Johnny Carson's hole-in-one, April 15, 1983. Proving that impossible is just a challenge waiting to be accepted." Arnold Palmer paid the $100,000 with a smile. "Best bet I ever lost," he told reporters. "Johnny Carson showed me that when someone tells you the odds are 12,000 to 1, all they're really saying is that one person in 12,000 will make it. Johnny decided he was going to be that one person." Years later, Johnny was asked about the shot in an interview. "I've had a lot of great moments in my career, famous guests, memorable sketches, awards. But that hole-in-one is the thing I'm most proud of. Not because I made the shot, but because I proved to myself that if you want something badly enough, if you're willing to put in the work, physics and probability don't matter. Impossible is just another word for hasn't been done yet." The bet with Arnold Palmer became legendary in golf circles. Professional players started referencing it when teaching students about dedication. If Johnny Carson can hit a hole-in-one after 1 year of practice, you can break 90 with consistent effort. But the real victory wasn't the shot itself, it was what the shot represented. Johnny Carson, television's most famous host, had taken a public bet, faced ridicule from the golf establishment, worked obsessively for a year, and delivered under the most intense pressure imaginable. On live television, in front of 20 million viewers, with professional golfers watching, he'd turned 12,000 to 1 odds into 100% certainty through sheer determination. Arnold Palmer said he'd never hit a hole-in-one. What happened next broke records, stunned the golf world, and proved that when Johnny Carson made a bet, The smart money was always on Johnny. The impossible shot wasn't impossible after all. It just required 12 months, 90,000 practice balls, complete obsession, and Johnny Carson's absolute refusal to fail when he'd made a promise on television. Palmer learned the lesson. The golf world learned the lesson. And 20 million viewers learned that impossible is just a dare waiting to be accepted by someone crazy enough or dedicated enough to try.